So it's Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by my good friend and Hall of Fame promoter, Frank Warren. Frank, how are you doing on this Thursday morning?
I'm good. The sun's out, Dan, for a little while. Look, I think we've got a bit of sun out at the moment, so I'm happy about that.
Sun's out, guns out, Frank.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Just to start off with, obviously, big game for England last night. Made it through. There were some nerve-wracking moments against the Dutch. What did you make of it?
I did a thing on Talk Sport because I mean everyone's had a big downer on them, and I think if you're not playing well when you're you're succeeding, that's not a bad place to be in. And I thought, it's a matter of, hopefully it was a matter of time before they clicked. And certainly in that first half, they really did click, didn't they? They looked bloody really good. Second half, the Dutch were a bit more solid but they deserved it. It was a really good win. And, I'm obviously, as an Englishman, I'm absolutely pleased. And I'm absolutely convinced they'll do a job on Spain. I think we'll win it.
Now, I was making an analogy yesterday. You might have to bear with me a bit on this one. But I think Spain against England in the final is quite similar to Anthony Joshua against Daniel Dubois. Because you've got Spain, they've been in and around the top level for quite some time. They weren't really on form recently, but they've come back into form at the tournament at the right time. Then you've got England, who are the young, hungry team, finally reaching that top level and quite workmanlike as well in comparison. Do you see that analogy? And does it mean that Dubois is going to win?
I can see that. I can see that. And I can see that, England at the moment, it's all, it's gelling. It's now happening. It's taken those couple of games to get them, they got tremendous talent, all those young players there. Most of them are young players, great talent. And it all clicked last night. It clicked. And certainly, and he got his substitutions right. I mean, the combination of the two of them he brought on got the goal. So he got his substitution right, and I'm sure on the night Daniel Dubois is going to get it right.
I was going to say, in the last fight with Hrgovic, you made a substitution by putting his dad in the corner, so that works out.
Yeah, he's very close to his dad, and he hears his dad's voice. So we got his dad's seconds license.
Well, there you go. You start calling you Southgate. Talking of that fight, you were on TalkSport a couple of days ago with Simon Jordan and Jim White. And Simon Jordan shared with you his theory that I think he'd already shared with the public, that he believes the moment Anthony Joshua gets hit solidly on the chin by Daniel Dubois on the 21st of September, he will get PTSD, going back to the Andy Ruiz fight. Simon's point was that AJ hasn't been hit cleanly by a big puncher in quite some time. How much do you go along with that theory?
I do agree with him. He hasn't been hit for a long time, been caught by someone. And the one thing about Daniel is that, you're going to get caught by someone. That's not the person you want to be hitting you, because he's probably the biggest puncher out there, in my opinion, in that division. It's the fight's heart and mind. That's what it's going to be about. It's going to be who's got the strength of mind and who's got the heart. And I believe Daniel's got that. AJ, people think he's got it, but it's who gets caught. When somebody gets caught in that fight, because they're both big bangers, one of them's going to get caught. And the fact that they're both big punchers means when they're throwing their right hands, if they're letting their right hands go, they're going to leave themselves exposed for the counter. And that will be the telling point of the fight. They've got to keep working. Both of them have got good jabs. You see that in AJ's last fight. And we had a pretty static guy in Nagano who stood pretty square on, but he'd done it perfectly well. What he had to do, the jab to body and bring the right hand over. And Daniel, after about the second or third round of his last fight against Hrgovic, he was doubling up that jab and letting that right hand go. And if they both do that, it's going to be a battle of the jab. But as soon as someone commits themselves, they will get caught. Someone's going to get caught. And I believe that Daniel took some shots in that fight against Hrgovic. He took quite a few right hand. I didn't want to see him do it, but he actually did take a few shots and came through it.
And you mentioned heart there. How much of that belief in Daniel is based on how much he showed his heart recently, and how much is based on question marks you might have about Joshua's heart?
Well, I've seen it. AJ in the second fight, Ruiz fought on the back foot. and he was getting out jabbed by the smaller man in they got a common opponent in Usyk, and Usyk was out jabbed the fight at Tottenham. He could was out jabbing
Joshua.
AJ, and I just feel that he's got a good jab hand, man, and I think that, you know, and he's a bigger man, he's got a longer reach, so it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens. But I just feel that Daniel's shown his heart. You know, I think that it's a bit like, I remember that fight many years ago. Great fighter, Roberto Duran, his second fight he had with first fight, yeah, when he had that fight, the no mass fight.
Second fight with Leonard,
Rick Leonard. I mean, a lot of people said he quit. He didn't quit. What it was, he felt he wasn't coming to the fight and he was getting clipped. And I think what happened with Daniel in the fight with Usyk, I just felt that I thought he let the referee get to him, you know, and I'm not complaining about it. It was what it was. And for me, that's not the way it should have been. He should have gritted his teeth and got on with it, but he didn't. I think the referee did get him, but I think he's matured a bit since then. And then he fought Kevin Lorena, and Kevin Lorena caught him a cracking shot. He's not a bad puncher, Lorena. He caught him in that first round when we know a lot of fighters are vulnerable, and he tore all his ligament in his leg, and he couldn't plant his feet, but he gritted his teeth there and done what he had to do. So that was a fight where he gritted his teeth. Big Baby gritted his teeth, and he certainly did the same thing against Hrgovic. So it's there. He's older now. He's 26 years of age. And he's got, he's matured. He's matured a bit. He never had any senior bouts as an amateur. And when you look at the experience that, you know, everybody he's fought, you look at their experience that they've had, including Hrgovic, you know, they're very experienced guys. But he's done extremely well. He's in a good place at the moment. He's got the title by default, in as much that, you know, he vacated the belt rather than defend the title, because obviously Usyk was signed to fight Tyson on the 31st of on the 21st of December this year in Riyadh, part of the Riyadh season. And you know, this fight on you know, in September, where tickets have got extremely well. We're going to apply for to get more people into the local authorities. You know, it's a Riyadh season special. It's captured everybody's imagination, and there's so many different questions that people ask, and so many different scenarios. Like we're talking about, like, you know, the heart and the desire and this and that and whatever. There's so many ponderables. But one thing you know about it is it will be a fight, because they both punch, big punches. It will be a fight. It will be a fight, and I just feel that I think Daniel will give him a lot of problems.
What do you think of AJ's heart and grit and desire, the qualities you've just ascribed to Daniel?
Well, he's that first fight with Riz was a big shock, wasn't it, for everybody? I mean, you know, and I'm not going to go there with that. I feel you can look at fighters. I mean, that's what I do for a living. You know, my job is promotion, and, you know, we sign guys and we maneuver them and get them into positions where hopefully they can win world titles and gain experience on the way, I should say, then win world titles. And you look at strengths and weaknesses. We know what the strengths are of most fighters. It's the weaknesses you have to exploit. And I feel with AJ, if he gets clipped, he does go on his back foot. And the one thing you don't want to be doing with Daniel is going on your back foot.
And Eddie Hearn was asked about AJ's supposed fragility yesterday by my colleague Eamon Khan, based off the Simon Jordan comments. And he said he doesn't know where that reputation comes from. He believes AJ's got a really good chin. Would you say AJ's got a really good chin?
We'll find out on the 21st, because if he gets caught, he's going to get caught by the biggest puncher in the division. He is a tremendous puncher in both hands. It's not just a right hand. And more importantly, if he catches you, he's a good finisher. You look at any of his fights, when he's caught people, he finishes them. He senses that moment. He's all over you.
So
at any moment in the fight.
So if he's the biggest puncher in the heavyweight division, who's got the best chin in the heavyweight division right now?
I think that's a toss-up at the moment at the highest level between Tyson and Usyk. And I've got to say Tyson, because he's been really, you know, he's when he has been caught and has been in trouble, he's overcome it.
Yeah, I would agree. You also said to Simon Jordan, you believe Hrgovic is a better boxer than Anthony Joshua. Do you mean from a technical perspective?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think he is. I think he's a better boxer, but you know, they're both of them got, you know, they've got great amateur pedigrees, haven't they? Massive amateur pedigrees, done everything as a pros. And Hrgovic was a fighter, whatever way you want to look at it, he's been avoided. And everybody in the business, all the trainers you talk to, everybody says, well, you know, oh, he's just been sparring, I've just had him, because we talk obviously in the trade amongst ourselves. Everybody was saying what a really good fighter he is. For me, the fights I've seen him as a pro, I felt that's the reason we wanted that fight, because I felt that Daniel could beat him, and obviously he did beat him, because I felt, you know, I just didn't see what a lot of people were saying. But he the first couple of rounds, I mean, he was catching Daniel with some seriously, not once, I mean, quite a few times, with some serious right hands.
We saw yesterday, early hours of the morning, Chris Eubank Jr. has signed a partnership agreement with Boxer. Were you guys at Queensbury in talks with Eubank? Were you ever close to signing him?
We tried to make the fight of him and Hamza, but it just didn't happen. You know, it is what it is. I mean, for me, I looked at that fight as a stepping stone for Hamza. You know, he's, you know, Chris Eubank Jr., 34 years of age. He ain't, you know, he's a name that's recognised in the UK because of the name Eubank, and I felt that would be a good scalp to have on his, you know, on his belt. As putting all your eggs in the basket, in the Eubank basket, that's not a business I would want to particularly be in.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Hamza, because in the press release that Boxer put out around the signing, they mentioned a number of potential opponents, both internationally and domestically, and Hamza was a notable omission.
I mean, I haven't seen their press release, and you know that will be their decision anyway. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, Hamza's moved on to another level now. I mean, he's the mandatory for the world title, so he's in a much better position than Eubanks is, that's for sure. But then Eubanks, I think they're trying to make a Canelo fight, aren't they? So I understand.
Yeah. And talking of Boxer, they've got a couple of fighters on the September 21st show at Wembley. Previously, in terms of UK promoters, we've seen yourself and Matchroom take the lead, if you like. But now Boxer have got, was it Joshua Buatsi, Tyler Denny on that show? How did that come about that they've got their fighters now involved?
Well, because that was a fight we wanted to make. You know, Buatsi didn't want to fight.
Yard. Yard didn't.
Sorry, Yard didn't want. We made that offer. He didn't want to make the fight. So the next one, he was put in by the, I think it was at WBO, put him in as but you know, in that fight against Josh. So that's why the fights happened, and we wanted to make sure it's on the card that we're working with our partners in Seller. So that's what happened.
So we interviewed Johnny Nelson yesterday, your old pal, and he said he feels that yourself and Eddie must be really unhappy that Boxer are now involved, that you, for a time, were perhaps trying to squeeze them out of the Saudi show.
Looks like squeeze anyone out. We made those fights voluntarily. You know, we made the fights. I mean, those fights are made, and I don't get that. And that the Tyler fight, the actual fight we made. Was the fight we was going to do the fight between
Felix
Felix Cash. That was a done deal, and I mean a lot of people thought Felix Cash was going to win that fight, including ourselves, and it didn't happen. So we went for the next one. That's nothing. Johnny Nelson talks shit most of the time, doesn't he? I mean, what does he know?
I would say that he's speaking from a position of working with Sky Sports and Boxer, most likely in that case, but. Yeah,
well, listen, we all speak of positions. It's not a position; it's knowing actually the real reasons, not what he feels are the, you know, what he thinks it is. I mean, what does he know? He's not got any involvement whatsoever. He's on the outside looking in.
But Boxer are no longer on the outside looking in. Do you think that will continue? Do you think we'll see more Boxer and
There's
Waterman
fights
as
there
well?
that have got to be made. That His Excellency and and everybody involved thinks they're good fights to make. Of course, you make the fights. I don't know, and they've had fights on there before. He had Bacoli fought. It's not the first time Bacoli fought out there.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a nonsense. I mean, just talking nonsense.
Oh,
Bacoli fought out there. That's a few months ago, and it might be about 6-7 months ago, whatever it was.
no, I asked Matchroom's Frank Smith this earlier this morning. He's out in Tokyo. God knows what time it is over there. How much involvement have Queensbury had in the August show in the US, the Riyadh season show?
We got fighters on there, but the on the ground out there, Eddie's running the show out there.
Why was that the decision? But you've been the lead
Well,
promoter, obviously.
that's what we have no problem with that. I mean, there's no issue. It's not even an issue for us. I mean, we've got we've got 2 shows here in July. We've got a show in August in the UK. We've got the big show at Wembley that we're responsible for on behalf of Riyadh season at Wembley and so forth. So that's how it is.
It seems like you're working quite well together in that, Eddie's got a bigger footprint in the US, you've got a bigger footprint perhaps now in the UK, and you kind of agreeing to, run your own areas.
Well, it's not even that. It's whatever suits the name of the game. We're all this is not a pissing contest. This is something that everybody moaned about for years, saying, well, why can't you work and get work? Why can't you do this? And then as soon as you start doing it, then you get all the snide comments, like you're just saying, from Johnny Nelson and people. Well, I don't get them. Just be pleased you're getting the fights and you're watching them. We're delighted where we are. Absolutely delighted. We've got the best stable of young fighters in the world now, bar none.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to dispute that. Looking at the other stables, I've got to say, I think Top Rank would probably be the only ones that.
And you're right, and that is because of the work and the way what we've been putting into this, and where we've been coming from in the last. Well, was it? You look at these fighters. Some of them have been coming through now in the last 5 years. We've had a plan of what we've been trying to do, and what's helped. It's been a massive benefit and a bonus to Queensbury and Matchroom and everybody is the fact that now Riyadh season, His Excellency have shown a fantastic interest in boxing.
Now, going from a lot of positive stuff to maybe not quite so positive, we saw some comments last week from Ryan Garcia that garnered a lot of negative publicity, rightly so, I would say. But what did you make of his comments and these continued erratic behaviour?
Well, he's obviously got a problem, hasn't he? And one thing's for sure, you keep listening to this and seeing his actions, he shouldn't be boxing. And the people around him who care for him, they should get him to go and get himself sorted out before they even think about boxing. Because he has a huge problem. There's no doubt about that. The things he's saying, whatever. And he's not the first, and he probably won't be the last to do that, not just in boxing, in life. It happens to lots of people. And it's something he needs to address, and he needs to get it sorted out. I mean, they're unsavoury, the things he says, but, sometimes people say and do things that are a result of a mental problem.
And with that in mind, you've been a mentor, you've always looked after young fighters, often in very challenging circumstances. I think of Fury at times, Billy Joe Saunders earlier in his career, Kevin Mitchell previously. What would you do? What would your approach be with a Ryan Garcia?
I'll generally sit down and say to him, listen, forget about boxing for a moment. You need to, you do need some help. You need to get, I mean, look, if you had a broken leg or a broken arm, you'd go to the hospital, wouldn't you? He's obviously got a problem up here. You can't see it, but you can hear it with his actions and the things he says. He needs to address that. The other side of it, though, the fact that he's in the gym may give him some focus, that he's actually doing something that, that gives him, an end goal. But if somebody who has his best interest at heart isn't getting involved and telling him he needs to sort this out, it would just get worse and worse. And I generally don't think that any commission should at this moment in time allow him to box till they get a report on. I mean, I don't know this. This is me. This is on the outside looking in. I don't know, but I would suggest that that they get a report to his mental stability, because the things he's saying can't be. They're not right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's barred from boxing for a year. At least we know, if everyone respects that decision anyway. But the WBC have moved to expel him, whatever that means.
Well, if he can't box for a year, you can't rate him.
Yeah,
it's the end of it.
Yeah, so expulsion isn't really doesn't really mean anything.
What they need to say is, if you do in a year's time, when you finish your suspension, when you reapply to box, that the commission and the relevant governing body insist that he has a report on his mental welfare and how he is before they allow him to fight.
Let's just move on to more immediate topics before I let you go. Magnificent Seven in a week and 2 days, so 9 days time. I'm travelling up as a fan to watch the show. I'm looking forward to it. But it did become slightly less magnificent with the withdrawal of Liam Davies and then David Adelaide in quick succession. Did you consider moving any of the fights from the Chisora bill like a week earlier to the Magnificent Seven show? No,
people bought their tickets for the show at the O2, and that wouldn't be fair on them. And we've got a couple of. I mean, Masood's still fighting on the card. We've got him an opponent, and we replace it. And same thing will happen for Soldagas. But it's just a shame that happens. But it's a cracking card. It's a brilliant card. Tickets have really gone well up there, and they have as they have at the O2, and they're good quality shows. I mean, they're really good, top quality events with real competitive fights all the way through the cards.
And if your man Joe Joyce comes through at the O2, would you like to then see Derek Chisora retire?
Yeah, well, I said he should retire a couple of years ago, and obviously he hasn't. But the loser of this fight, I can't see where they go at their age, where they go in the sport. They'll go right down the pecking order, and it'll be a hard climb back. And I see, the winner. And if it is Joe Joyce, then if Joe comes through, I can see him going into the top 5.
People will criticise you for saying, as you have said before, that Derek Chisora should have retired a couple of years ago, but still using him on this show. How would you respond to that?
He's a licensed boxer. The Boxing Board of Control licensed him. He fulfills all their good criteria to box. And it's a fight that we tried to make a few years ago. The fact that since then, Joe's had a couple of losses against Zhang. It's still a good fight. And we'll see whether I was right or wrong, whether he should have retired a couple of years ago. If he gets beat, then I was right. If he beats Joe Joyce, I was wrong.
Fair enough. And just before I let you go, let's have a prediction for Sunday night, 8 o'clock. England against Spain in the final of the Euros. What are you going for?
England.
Well, yeah, obviously, but what score?
I fancied. I said on TalkSport the other day on that same interview. I said I fancied England to win 3-1, and they were unlucky not to win 3-1 last night. That one just off the line they got, and hitting the post. I fancy us to beat them 2-1.
2-1. All right, brilliant. Frank, really appreciate it as always. Enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend. And yeah, let's catch up soon.
And you, Dan, and I'll see you in Birmingham, your son.
You will. Take care, mate.